Hit the field, blast off, watch them all fall. This is AFC North talk. Got me hype, it's about to be a touchdown. Got the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and the Browns. Are you listening? It's time to get it hype. Tune in when the season poppin'. Yeah, we going live. Hey, knock 'em out. Ay, first down, going hard. Yes, indeed. AFC North talk. Let's go. Hey, AFC North talk.
Welcome to another edition of AFC North talk. We here. Good. The games are actually pretty good this week. Heading to the last quarter of the year. Before that, let's recap this week. Let's talk about last night. Bengals and Dallas. I don't know about you guys. I actually thought the Bengals were gonna just roll over the Cowboys. Cowboys defense was actually sneaky good. In my opinion, I think this defense actually been playing better as the year has gone by. They lost the most Cowboys ways you can lose, blocking out a punt. Let me try to recover this thing, and then just let it bounce to, I forgot, 42, I think, from the Bengals.
John Meta, yep.
And after that, doesn't matter what happened. The whole stadium, everything, every single Cowboy player, their soul got taken away in that moment. That game was done at that moment. Joe Burrow, strong performance. He had the fumble. Obviously, there was some miss face mask during that one. Jamar Chase keeps killing it. I was talking to Ace before the stream. This bad boy is about to make bank. He might be approaching quarterback money. Not like Joe Burrow quarterback money, but other quarterbacks money. Yeah, Ace, what are you thinking, man? You clean house, like clean sweep all the way to the end of the year?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad that the Bengals won. Right. This was something I think that they needed just mentally based off of the tough year. I think if you've been watching the Bengals throughout this season, this is finally something bouncing their way. Like, I'm not a believer really in luck or anything like that, but I would say that luck was definitely on their side at the end of this game for this. And I think, this season has been an example of they haven't gotten things to bounce their way. The one thing that I will say about this game and about the Bengals that is different from I think some of these situations where they've been in these one-score games was that you got complimentary football finally played by all three facets of this team. The defense answered the bell. Talked a lot about how bad they've been this season. Third quarter, they were able to do their thing. I think in the second half, they really did their thing. They held the Cowboys to 10 points in the second half. First half, they held them to 10. They did some things that they needed to do. When Joe Burrow did have that interception, they were able to hold them to 3 when they needed to, where at times this season, we haven't seen them do that. Whenever Joe and the offense doesn't convert, usually the defense is quickly giving up a quick score or something like that. So shout out to the defense for doing that. I will say Trey Hendrickson there at the end with a clutch sack that ended up helping them. Talked about the special teams. They contributed not only just on the block punt, but on making field goals. Like, that's been another issue.
York.
When McPherson, K. York is in there for him doing his thing. Coaching staff, I think that they actually played complimentary football with this team, seeing them do things that they should have been doing from the beginning of the season. I even credit the announcer for kind of talking about it. Everybody talks about Zach Taylor and him coming from the McVay system. He doesn't really utilize those McVay principles in this offense. He doesn't like running the ball, usually doesn't do play action, doesn't really run screens. He did a lot of that in this game, and it ended up working out for him. And Chase Brown is just looking like a straight-up weapon for this offense, not only in the passing game, in the run game. He's explosive. He was somebody that really took off in this one. I mean, Jamar Chase to me is people would talk about Saquon. I think Jamar Chase is the offensive player of the year. Like, I'm sorry. I think he's going for the Triple Crown. I think he's unstoppable. This is one where they were clearly trying to get him the Triple Crown. 14 receptions, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns in this one. Some of these games where Jamar is just going off in these games, I think that somebody had a tweet out there earlier. It was like 3 or 4 games. It was like 700 yards it was somebody's like regular season right now numbers just in those games. I mean, Jamar Chase is just a truly special talent. Joe Burrow and him together, that's just they're going for historic numbers when it comes to them as a combo in this one. Quiet game for T. Higgins in this one. However, if you're paying attention to this, a lot of the times that actually opened up Jamar Chase with him being on some of the weaker corners because Dallas was putting Trayvon Diggs on T. Higgins to try to kind of keep him on him. So that opened things up for him. And then I think from a defensive standpoint, Geno Stone, who's been getting killed by Bengals fans this season, had some big plays in this one. You talk about him getting the red zone interception against Cooper Rush. That was huge. You talk about him also having a hurry on the all-out blitz on that forced, I believe, a 3-and-out or something like that. He forced the incompletion on that one. Shout out to him. The Bengals finally also started playing some of the guys that I've kind of talked about. Like they finally utilized Mike Gesicki a little bit more. I didn't like that it wasn't throughout the game, but they still were able to start to target him in the red zone, which I couldn't understand why he wasn't getting targeted in the red zone before that. So they were able to utilize him. Yoshi was able to come in here and do a little bit more than just catching, one catch touchdown here kind of game. So he was able to come out here with 4 receptions. He almost had, though, some costly he had a costly penalty in this one, and he almost really had a fumble, which in my opinion might have been a fumble. I don't know why they didn't call it that. But, those were things that
the refs in this games were horrible, by the way.
I
mean, next level trash.
Yeah. And I mean, the Bengals had 10 penalties in this one. So, when it comes to that, that's not typically normal what the Bengals have done this season. They've been one of the least penalized teams in the NFL. But this one, they almost kind of gave it away here, especially you talk about that last drive before the blocked fiasco punt that they had in that one. It was almost one where they literally almost gave it back. Jamar Chase drops a wide open 2nd and 5, I believe it was. They get bailed out because there's a flag call, so they get a first down. But then you have the holding penalties by Yosivas, and the next thing you know, the Bengals go from another situation where it looks like they're going to get a first down to it being a 3rd or 4th and 27, and you're punting. Luckily for them, as we kind of talked about, the punt team bailed them out. But Joe Burrow got to do what Joe Burrow does in those situations, and he put a dagger right in their heart with a game-clinching touchdown to Jamar Chase on this one. The way that Joe Burrow is playing, I mean, I am going to say I was a little worried when they gave up the sack and they rolled over on him, and it seemed like he had some kind of issue with the knee there, ended up putting a sleeve on it. I was worried about that. The Bengals' offensive line protection was horrible, in my opinion. Like, yes, this was a good game, but Joe Burrow was under siege all night. Even though they only gave up 2 sacks, he was hit several times. They were in the backfield. Micah Parsons was in the backfield several times. The only offensive lineman I think that played good was Amarius Mims. Even he had some hiccups here and there, but what he's doing is impressive. Having to face the likes of a T.J. Watt, Myles Garrett, and now Micah Parsons, and not surrendering a sack whenever they lined up against him, it has to be impressive. I think for Bengals fans, that's what you wanted to get out of your first-round pick. But outside of him, man, the line struggled. And, I mean, I get it. There's no Orlando Brown. So when you have someone like Cody Ford protecting your blind side, things like that are going to happen. And, that's what I didn't like to see from this game was there was a lot of pressure there. But Joe and the crew were able to take this one. The one thing that I question, though, is, yes, this was good to see. You got to see Myles Murphy. You got to see Osai. You got to see them move away from Sam Hubbard, some of the things that we expected to see them. But you have to wonder if this is too little too late, just because now with this race coming down to what it is, now you're depending on other teams to drop games. Yes, you have a favorable schedule coming up. However, now it's kind of out of your hands. So as it stands now, I'm just sitting here wondering if it's too little too late. And I also wonder, is this a situation where if you get some of these wins, it keeps someone like Zach Taylor there, it keeps some of the problems that they've had there. I'm not overlooking the issues that they've had. I still am very critical about Zach Taylor, Lou Anarumo, this defense, some of the personnel decisions that they made. So for me, I'm not so sure that I want them to go on this streak because I want changes for this team. And as it stands, the biggest thing that had me excited was really what happened after the game, which is Joe Burrow saying that he wants T. Higgins to remain a Bengal. He wants to do things in his contract to make sure that that happens. And then Jamar Chase follows it up with, yeah, I would pay T. Higgins too. So them realizing what I feel like we've said all along, that's the foundation of this team. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. Anybody else can really go when it comes to that, as far as I'm concerned. And I think after you've seen this defense be worthless this season, after you've seen certain aspects of it not really work out, it's very clear that the one thing that this team can do is score the football and score points. And I think that you have a hard time doing that without T. Higgins there. And I think you have a hard time opening up Jamar Chase the way that you do without T. Higgins there, because we've seen Yoshi, Jermaine Burton, no matter who it is, neither of those guys have been able to live up and produce on that level. So it's clear that he is an important part of the team. And to me, what was important about it was this was a game where T. Higgins only had 2 receptions for 23 yards. So there were a lot of people on Twitter and stuff, Bengals fans included, saying, oh, well, this is why we should keep Jamar and move on from T. And I think Joe gets the big picture. Like, a lot of this stuff doesn't happen without T. Higgins being on the field. That draws the attention of these other teams. So that was good to hear. So always never going to be, apologetic about a win or anything like that. However, if this means that we're going to keep Zach Taylor and all of that, like, I don't know if I'm signing up for that. And also, when it comes to the draft options right now, I don't know if I'm on board with, missing the playoffs and then missing out on the top 10 draft pick, because the Bengals, as it stands with their resume outside of the top 10 when it comes to drafting, not the best. So we'll see how this goes. I'm along for the roller coaster. We'll see where it goes next week, but good win for the Bengals.
Sorry, Jared.
Oh, okay. I was waiting. Yeah. By the way, I'm done betting U.S. currency on T. Higgins. That's the last time I do that. Anytime I do, Joe Burrow decide. Like, did he tell Joe that the Batmobile that he bought was stupid or something? Like, the bro wasn't seeing the ball all night. But in terms of the everything for Cincinnati right now, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because at this point, even if they win all their remaining games, it's still kind of somewhat of a long shot for them to get in at the 7th seed. They need a lot of help in terms of they'll need Miami and Indianapolis to lose a couple games. I still think that that's going to happen. The Dolphins have 2 trips up north where they're going to play in cold weather games. So I think that Bengals fans can sleep well at night knowing that those will probably be losses for the Dolphins. I don't think the Colts are going to rattle off a bunch of wins. I think that's still a very an inconsistency, and with an inconsistent raw quarterback that is still at least a year away from being like a real threat. So I said it a few weeks ago, it's going to come down to, in my opinion, Cincinnati and Denver, and that game between the two of them is going to have real implications. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But yeah, I don't blame Ace or any Bengals fans for not wanting Zach Taylor to be the head coach anymore. I don't think that he is, a special head coach. There's plenty of guys that I think would make sense to bring in if and when they do decide to move on. But that's kind of the catch-22 of it is, okay, yeah, they can run off some wins, get to 9-8, somehow get 7 seed. But even so, whomever they would play in the first round, whether it be Buffalo, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, that's obviously a rough start to it in the playoffs anyway. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, well, if you would have started winning games, a couple weeks ago, maybe you wouldn't be in this situation. There've been a lot of one-score games that have gotten away from them. So overall, I think that they kind of got our break too, because if Amani Oruwariye doesn't touch the punt, there's a decent chance Dallas gets it back and kicks a field goal of their own, like at the end of the game to win. So I'm not like buying into Cincinnati too much as I was earlier in the year, where I was constantly defending them and saying, they'll be a playoff team. I'm not worried. That defense has real question mark. Like, bro, the first touchdown of the game, Mike Hilton watches CeeDee Lamb just run a corner route. And it's like, oh my goodness, bro. Like, is that where we're at with Mike Hilton? Like, I didn't realize it was this bad. So I think we know what the offense is. It's going to be Joe to Jamar 14 times like we saw last night. But I do think that most fans, and as you correct me if I'm wrong, but I think most fans kind of have their eye on the offseason as of right now to see what other pieces they can bring in to try to improve for next year and see if T. Higgins is indeed brought back.
Yeah, for sure.
What would be the percentage you have on T coming back?
I think it definitely spiked after last night. I would say it's probably 60-40 now. I think when Joe Burrow speaks, especially for an organization like the Bengals, they have to listen. If he's not saying something, then I think that they would have just let him walk, test free agency. I don't know, maybe even tag and traded him possibly, but I think the fact that Joe Burrow came out and said that he wants him there and he's willing to give up and move some of his money around to do it, I think that increases the chances for sure.
So my question also is more like, for a quarterback, it's easy to move the money, right? But yeah, guarantee me more money now, give me a bonus check, and push money in the future. I don't think quarterbacks is necessarily a big lift. It's owner-wise. Will the owner be willing to pony up 2 big checks, basically in the same offseason, right? Because Higgins will have to be signed this year. And Chase will be very pissed if he's not signed this year, right? So they both will have to be signed this year. And plus, if you want to do the Burrow thing, the only way to do it is saying, here's a check for $60 million or whatever as a bonus, so I can then prorate your money and lower the cap this year. That is a lot of millions thrown in one offseason. I don't know.
They are going to have like near 100 million this offseason if they do certain cuts. So I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for them to do money-wise. It would just depend on who they plan on cutting and moving away from.
Yeah, so I'm not disputing the cap. I'm more saying that's money that is owed day one, right? Like, basically, from my bank account owner, I'm going to push out, I don't know, call it 100 mil between the three of them in an offseason. That is a lot of cash for any team. That's not just the
I think they've already paid Joe Burrow, so it would be between T. Higgins and Jamar Chase that they have to pay. They've already given Joe Burrow his cash.
I agree, but my point is, if Joe Burrow wants to restructure so they can keep T, right? That's what he said.
Yeah.
The only way that usually this happens is they prorate money to the future, right? So his cap can be lower this following year, this upcoming year. And how they do that is they take a chunk of money, and they give it as a signing bonus, boom, in the offseason, because that could be prorated. I say that's a lot of cash. I don't know if the owner will be willing to do that. We'll see. Obviously, the three of them want to play together, but obviously, and I don't blame him for this, neither T or Jamar is going to take a pay cut. This is their big contract, right? Who knows what happens after this one. So I'm not blaming the players for not taking a pay cut. So it's going to be a very interesting offseason. And look, drafting will be key also, because if you sign the three of them, drafting will be a key way to put any talent on the other side. You have some young guys there, right? You talk about Murphy. Osai, I think, is one thing that I've seen from Osai. Osai came to the league as a DN, as rusher. I think his best position is in the inside. Almost like the guy that is currently on the Steelers that used to be a Bengal. Ogunjobi. He reminds me of Ogunjobi. That should be his position. Anyway, this is more of an offseason thing. I think the Bengals played good. Like I said, I think offensively, even though Jamar Chase went off, the question here is more, were they offensively? I feel like offensively, I was expecting a little more. I don't know about you guys. I was expecting a little more. And that's why I said I thought the Cowboys actually played decent. Why do you have Cody Ford on the left tackle? Cody Ford came as a guard coming out of Oklahoma.
Everybody else is hurt.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you. I was like, Orlando Brown, the reason
I understand that, but if you're gonna put Cody there, you need to chip every play. Because the problem is, it's not because you want to win this game. Win this game. What you don't want is the blindside Joe Burrow gets hit, and now he has an ACL, and now next year is also a watch, right? That's the problem with having Cody Ford there. The Chiefs did it right. They got a guy that at least is a tackle, that has play a tackle. That was last week. That's something the Bengals could have done for the rest of the year, right? Because again, it's not even obviously you're trying to win this week. I'm sorry, this week and every week, but it's more protecting Joe Burrow. If Joe Burrow is playing there, that O-line, you have to put the best before. Cody Ford has.
The only thing I'll say is, like Jared is saying, everybody is hurt. So
I got you. But my point is,
they lost Orlando Brown. They signed.
They didn't they bench Cordell Volson last week against Pittsburgh?
Cordell Volson. Well. The issue is that they've lost 2 tackles this season. So Trent Brown, they lost early on in the situation. They drafted Amarius Mims to kind of be the reserve tackle. Marius Mims has been there on the right side, and then they lost Orlando Brown. So, like, coming into the season, like, Cody Ford wasn't expected to be a tackle at all for them. He was just expected to be kind of a swing guy, really back up and play guard, kind of be one of those big guys that you just throw in on a heavy package. But they've gone through so many linemen that now they have to play Cody Ford. They don't have a choice. Now, they could have continued to play Orlando Brown, but given the nature of his injury, which was like
you don't want to hurt him for next year.
You don't want to hurt him. You don't want to risk hurting him. But like to your point, though, you also don't want to risk Burrow getting hurt. But that's just the issue is they find themselves, and that's what happens when you sign Trent Brown, a guy with a injury history the size of a CVS receipt. That's what happens. That's what happens. You can't trust guys like that.
Yeah, I agree. My biggest point is here, like I would like if I was a Bengals fan, a tight end next to Cody Ford every single play. Yes, that will take a person out of the package, put your sample. I don't care. Chipping and then just do a flat route, right? But Cody Ford needs help. And again, it's more than he needs help. It's more for Burrow than Cody Ford. Yeah, because again, it's too late in the season for him to get a major injury that can lead to next year. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, do you have any comments for the Bengals Cowboys last night?
Yeah, something's got to be up, right? Like I'm not gonna act like I watched like the whole broadcast of this one, and honestly, I was pulled away by watching the Simpsons version of this, right? So like,
can I be the fun crusher of this group and say like why? Like
I knew it.
Why do we need?
Jared does not like any of this shit, dog.
Why do we need it? God almighty, we gotta have a SpongeBob game every wild card weekend. We gotta have once a year where we do some dumb animated shit. Like, just watch the goddamn game.
My daughter watched it. It's for the kids.
So I take it you've never watched the Nickelodeon broadcast.
No, I have not. Mostly because I can't. Like, no disrespect to him, but like Nate Burleson tries way too hard to be cool, and it really just bothers him. I was like, I can't do it. Sorry, bud. No,
Gary here sounds like get off my lawn guy.
Oh, my issue with the Simpsons thing is the delay. Like, I can't be like waiting.
Right.
People on Twitter are tweeting, and it's like, dog. Like, I was all in on the Simpsons joint when I first started, and then I was like, dog, like the drive is already over. Why is Homer just now lining up under center? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like, it's cool because like Mina's like a big Simpsons person, so I'm sure it was very cool for her, and they like really committed to the bit from the clips that I saw, and that's great. Like, that was very well done. It's just anything like that, bro. Yeah, I didn't tweet anything about it because I know people will get pissed at me, but seeing all the clips, I was like, oh my god, this is so dumb.
It's so interesting that Jared is the crotchety old man because he definitely looks like the youngest of all of us, right? Like,
there's a few things that I'm the old man shaking his fist at clouds.
He don't like none of this. He ain't down for none of this Jameis. He ain't down for none of these cartoons.
Right.
Call me when there's a Beavis and Butthead simulcast.
Were you a big fan of Chad Johnson?
I love Chad Johnson.
Really? Now that surprises me, right? Like,
but dude, celebrate all you want. Be creative with it. Chad's the best. I love Chad.
That is interesting. But if you want me to talk about this Bengals Cowboys game, I mean, what else? Like, it's not good that the Bengals had to like kind of win this one on some like last minute, like, oh shit, the Cowboys cowboyed it, right? Like that's clearly not good when one team is running out their Cooper Rush and like you still got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. I know Ace brought out that like the injuries are crazy that they're dealing with right now. But like honestly, I always caution because it's the last month of the season. And when your team stinks, dog, it's easy to get carried away with all of these takeaways on what your team does or does not do in the last month of the season, whether it be positive or negative. So I'm not going to take anything huge from this game. It's just, if you're the Bengals going forward, you got to be sure that it's just the defense that's caused this season, right? Like you really got to figure out like what happened because this shouldn't happen. Joe Burrow's been playing way too good for you to be this bad. I think Ace hit it on the head. I think they had some duct tape solutions on that offensive line that, broke through, right? And when you look at the Bengals, you don't really think about those nuts and bolts positions because we're so focused on Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. So we're like, oh, they're healthy. Like, that's what everybody who's watching the game is thinking, because don't nobody know if 67 the starter or not, right? So I think that's what we look at with the Bengals, but a lot of that in-between stuff has been hurt. The question is, with Joe Burrow's contract, how are they going to operate going forward? Are they going to spend enough cash to be able to put really good things or really sturdy solutions in place there long term? Because you're not going to be a 4-win team again, I would hope, if you're the Bengals. But this could be something that could cap you out at like 8-9 wins or 9 and 10 wins when you should be a 12-win threat every year with Joe Burrow. So if you're the Bengals, you really got to do the most important postmortem of your franchise's history, because how you got to this point to where you're one game better than the Browns, who started the worst quarterback to play since 2011 for like 7 games, and you got some of the best quarterback we've seen in quite a while. You really got to do a postmortem on how you got there, because just stuff like this is like, oh yeah, well, we barely beat the Cowboys. It's like, how does that happen? They're terrible right now. But I think that's all for the Bengals to kind of figure out this offseason. And it's really surprising because, I don't even think they've drafted poorly, right, Jared? Like usually you see this coming with the team where you're like, okay, paper mache kind of solutions here is going to crumble in. And I thought there was a little bit of that with the defense. It's hard for me to fathom that they're a 5-win team now, right? 5-win team in December. And Joe Burrow's not been hurt. Well, didn't he have something early in the year?
No, he hasn't missed a game.
Yeah, he's coming off of the wrist. So a lot
the
of
wrist thing. Yeah. So it's nothing outside the normal, right? Like it's like that's the thing that puzzles me with the Bengals. Like, how are they this bad this year? But I will say this specifically in Ace. I'll correct me if I'm wrong. Anything. All the draft picks on the defense and the guys that should be now being very productive. Right? Taylor Brigg, Hale,
they're not good. They're not good.
I think they
I was thinking about some of the offensive players, I guess.
No,
I
but
guess
the defensive side.
Yeah, but it's like, oh yeah, Dax Hill.
They drafted DJ Turner to basically be the heir apparent, and he has been whatever the opposite of that is, right?
Yeah.
Where
Hale, Taylor Brigg.
Yeah, so Dax Hill, he was supposed to be a safety. They played him as a nickel the first year because Jesse Bates was still there. They played him at free safety. He was horrible. And then they decided this year, like, hey, let's try him at outside corner, which surprisingly, I thought that was going to be a disaster. Surprisingly, he may have been low-key the best corner, but then he went down like week 2. DJ Turner, I probably would say, is the second best corner. When he
I mixed up my Dax Hill and DJ Turner. Yep. So nice little omission there.
There were definitely times where DJ Turner was getting torched for sure. He turned it around a little bit, but then he got hurt this season. Cam Taylor-Britt has this season has been very rough for Cam Taylor-Britt. That's all I would say. He had a good season, I think, last year, but I don't know if they got the tape on him or something this year. But yeah, at times he's been abused this year. So, and then Myles Murphy barely plays. Like, he's a first-round pick that they had last night. I think was the first time this guy outsnapped Sam Hubbard ever. I'm pretty sure ever. So, And I mean, that's a first round pick, but yeah, none of the guys that they've replaced on defense, like Larry Ogunjobi, Q. That was supposed to be Zach Carter was supposed to replace him. He's not on the roster anymore.
Okay.
So,
I'm starting to see how this happened.
That's my point on the defensive side. Their draft pick has been.
It's been
on
bad,
offense,
man.
it's been fine.
It's so
You guys
tough
don't
with
have to
corners because
sugarcoat
corners
it.
are like
It has not
pitchers.
been good. It has not been good.
Yeah, it's tough.
Complete side note here, but it's kind of relevant because the Steelers play on Christmas. Did you see the entire like cast that they have for these 2 Netflix games?
Yes, they have like 100 people.
No, they need to fix them servers, dog. Like I need
for
like
sure.
that taxi fight was
Wait,
horrible.
they got a cast? What,
Well, like the broadcast teams.
okay, who
It's like
they
20
got?
people, dog.
There's
It's like
so
20
many people, not featuring the likes of. For some reason, we're going to be subjected to listening to Bert Kreischer's pig squeal laugh at some point. He's part of one of these.
All right, so I'll be skipping the pregame.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nate Bargatze, another comedian, is part of this whole thing.
Mina's there.
Like they've got like a couple heavy hitters. They got both Eagles, Ian and Noah. Mina's there. Kay Adams is there.
Yeah.
So like they've obviously got some heavy hitters.
So Ian and Noah are the 2 play-by-play for both.
That would be my guess. Yes.
And who they got doing color? Like who
we got
color?
Greg Olson and JJ Watt will be the color guys, and then Nate Burleson's going to be in a booth.
Not good at color.
Yeah, JJ is more. He's solid at the studio analyst thing. I wouldn't pick him to do color.
The better the player, the worse the color commentator. Because
Greg Olson is pretty good though.
Who?
I mean, Greg Olson wasn't like a Hall of Fame. Greg Olson was a pretty good player.
Greg Olson was pretty good, but like he's a different style of good. Whereas like he played tight end, right? Like I don't want to hear Randy Moss in the color commentary booth.
No.
Randy Moss like I ran faster than everybody.
Do you guys remember? It was like a 2-week thing. Do you remember when Aqib Talib did color with Brandon Gaudin?
No.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was dreadful. Just dreadful stuff.
Yeah, like when I hear Jonathan Vilma in the booth, I'm like, all right, well.
Kenny Albert carries that booth.
Yeah. And then they're doing Burleson for the other one, right?
I've already given my thoughts on Nate Burleson. He tries way too hard to sound like he's like a 16-year-old, like fit in with the crowd.
I like Burleson.
He says so much cringy shit. It's just like, all right, dude.
Nate Burleson, if you were to compare Nate Burleson to somebody, I think he is the football industry's version of Anthony Mackie. Where it's like, very similar vibes. Or I'm like, Anthony Mackie, yep. I know what your dinner parties look like. But yeah, I think it's going to be crazy on Netflix. But I think with the Bengals, that's the most important thing. Is this an institutional failing of Joe Burrow that has resulted in this year? Or is this just like everything went the wrong way, right? And even if it is everything went the wrong way, dog, it shouldn't be able to. Even if everything goes the right way,
shouldn't be this bad.
You should still be able to smack the Cowboys by like 10 when they don't got any of their starters for real. Like, well, they got Micah out there. Like Micah Parsons should be leaving the field pissed off because he doesn't think he should have lost to you. Like that should not happen. Dog.
He was angry. He was definitely
like he's like, we had this one.
Speaking of Micah, here, let me shake my fist at another thing. Active players doing podcasts, knock that shit off. That's stupid. It shouldn't be allowed. I agree with that. I hate that with every fiber of my being. If you're an active player, stop doing fucking podcasts.
I love Marlon.
Talking to your boy Marlon, Sonny.
I have no issue with Marlon doing the pod.
I don't mind if you do a podcast that's nothing to do with football.
That's fine.
Yeah, like if you do cars or some shit, like you want to expand your brand or whatever the fuck. Like
that would be fine. If Micah Parsons did a podcast strictly on muscle cars, go ahead, have fun.
Yeah, but like basically, if you're a player doing a podcast, you're basically doing an hour-long press conference, and like. Yeah. That's not helpful for anybody. No. All it does is with Michael Parsons, you usually spreads misinformation too. Like it's not like you could break down the film.
Exactly.
It gives us the insight that we would want. It's just like another team podcast because you can't just like say whatever.
So many dudes have
Brandon
one.
Graham
Where
is out here
like,
saying
I
whatever.
know.
Brandon Graham is out here spilling the whole beans.
Because Brandon Graham is about to retire, right? Like, ain't he-
Graham doesn't give a shit. Yeah.
yeah,
He
like
put the
Draymond Green
gasoline
gets to
on
have a
that.
podcast because Draymond Green is 40, right? Like that. Those are my two rules. You can have the podcast, but you can't talk, or you've won so much that it don't matter that you got a podcast. Like Draymond Green, he got like 5 rings. Who cares?
That's funny.
What you gonna say? His podcast ruining the culture? Like, yeah, you're good there, right? But if you're like
with him doing that, with like everybody speculating on the Hurts and Brown thing, and for him to just throw it out there, like, yeah, you know what? They are beefing.
They
like,
are beefing.
And you know what I think? I think as punishment, Nick Sirianni's got to start Kenny Pickett this week. I think that would.
I
that
mean,
would be
he's
very
he's
fitting.
36, dog. They can cut him tomorrow. They can
who? What?
cut
Brandon Graham?
But he's in the IR.
He's
Yeah,
going
did
to-
he just tear his
He could be a
triceps?
full-time
He did.
podcaster
He done.
tomorrow, dog.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he's
already is making that transition. Why you think this bomb dropped? He could have dropped that shit in week 1. We know that Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown don't like each other. We've known this for 2 years. Like,
I mean,
it's-
what the AJ Brown said, what they asked him, what's wrong with the offense? Passing.
bro, they won by 30.
I know.
Like,
And this guy's not happy. Anyway.
but yeah. I don't know how we got there. But player podcast, especially podcast, if you're not like good enough to have a podcast, like Brock Purdy, you cannot have a podcast, right?
The Steelers long snapper has a podcast.
That's
Oh,
just fucking
God.
egregious. Okay. You barely on the team. Like,
Actually, no. I think that's okay. That the long snapper has a podcast. I think that's kind of okay because it's like, all right,
it's
yeah,
okay
the
until
long
it
snapper.
smacks. Like if it starts smacking and it's the next Pat McAfee show, I'm out. Cut the long snapper, bro. I'm not about to have the celebrity long snapper. Like, get the fuck out of here. No. I'm not about to have people show up to if I owned the NFL team and somebody showed up to the game in my long snapper's jersey, somebody's getting fired. Like somebody is losing their livelihood
Here,
that day.
give me a quick second.
I'm
Let me
jumping on
grab
this
my computer
train with
charger. How about it?
mid players that were mid talking down against star players. I can't, like, come on, bro. Like Trent Dilfer, bro. Like, come on, bro. I can't hear you
Hey,
criticizing the
He
quarterback.
has a ring. He has a ring.
Kendrick Perkins, bro. I love Kendrick Perkins, but dog, you cannot be talking
Oh,
about
Kendrick
star
Perkins.
players and talking down on them like you was out there in the field getting it in, bro. Like you just can't.
It's a fine line because like you can break down and have an opinion and have an analysis of things, but it's
Yeah.
like if you're leaning on your credibility as a player as the basis for your analysis, right? That's where it's a problem. If you're going through film and saying this dude can't play quarterback, it doesn't matter if you were a 3-time Pro Bowler or you're a 3-time, I've watched a Pro Bowler, right? Which I am. I'm a 30-time I've watched a Pro Bowler. But if I criticize somebody, I'm not just saying it blindly. I'm like, okay, these are the things that I don't like about that player. Like there's a reason behind it. But if you're like, nah, just trust me, bro, I played in the NFL, he's ass, then I'm gonna start looking at your credentials. Like I think that's the difference in it.
Okay, so here we go. Pitt has 2.
He did,
Big
bro.
league
He's
down
undefeated. He's a dangerous man right
bro.
now.
We
Hey man,
are
y'all
the-
play the Eagles this week. Like it's all fun and games when you playing the Browns in Pittsburgh. Yeah, predict the booty beatdown. But the Eagles, you like all right, bro.
No, the Eagles. You saw the AJ Brown also changed the profile pic. That's the new way to.
Look,
That's
AJ
it.
Brown is the original George Pickens. That don't mean nothing, but he gonna get 160. What you talking about? Like,
That is fair.
hey, I like that AJ Brown out here willing to throw it back. Shout out to Malik Neighbors, who seems like, hey, give me the ball, wide receiver. We ain't had one of them enter the league in a minute.
Yeah.
Malik Neighbors is like, nah, I'm hip. Like,
Yeah, sadly for him, his QB it's not great right now.
oh, it's always a good time when the get me the ball wide receiver gets bad quarterback play early in his career.
The only receiver for me, this is why I love him so much. It didn't matter who the quarterback was; he was always balling. D-Hop. Remember the year he had like 5 different quarterbacks over there in Houston.
Josh Gordon did it too. He gonna tell you about Josh
Gordon,
Gordon.
yeah, but Josh Gordon has other issues that prevented him from. I actually think if Josh Gordon would have been clean, he would have been an amazing receiver. Obviously, he had other issues.
But yeah, him and D-Hop are the only ones that I've seen do it with whoever's at quarterback.
D-Hop, man, it didn't matter who was there in Houston.
Hey, it was a different level of any quarterback that Josh
That man
Gordon
had
was out
Tom
here rolling.
Savage. That man was putting up numbers with Tom Savage.
Yeah.
Tom Savage, Matt Schwab, and you can look at Josh Gordon and be like, hey, bro, he did it with Jason Campbell.
Go Jason Campbell. Elite Dragon here says, which lucky play will Chiefs get to beat the Steelers? I
They
don't
play
know.
the Browns this week now, right?
No. Wait, the Steelers?
No, they play the Browns this week. They play Steelers next week.
The Chiefs play Steelers next week. Yeah, Steelers play the Eagles. Oh, Kansas City plays the Browns. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I already know how that game gonna go. Browns gonna be in it.
Dude,
Jameis Winston. Either he throws the best pass of his life and we start talking about him again and Jared starts to get furious, or
Bro, so I put out a tweet. I was like, Jameis stinks. But because he says dumb shit like you can't put the hogs before the bacon and we're going to be hungry little piggies for the Lord and dumb shit like that, everybody like has to talk about him.
we
Like,
need
bro,
to get Jameis on the Steelers one day. Like we need Jameis and Russ to go, like, because I think they would love it. Like Jameis would be out there like, you need to be more like you. And then Russ be like, you know what, bro?
Can you imagine next year filters out? They put Jameis.
Oh yeah, put Jameis in. You know, hey,
God, protect me from Jared Bailey and his slanders on AFC North Talk.
So I don't even hear it. I don't even hear it.
Jameis makes
God's so
Russ
high
look
up that
like
I
Joe
can't
Burrow.
hear what is beneath me. You feel me?
I love Jameis.
I can't do it.
My God, he's the backup. Why is he getting an interview?
That's another thing. If you're a backup quarterback, I don't want you being interviewed. Stop. Enough.
He's a starter right now.
Oh, so what you're saying? We need to play Jared Bailey bingo. So we need Jameis Winston podcast.
Ooh, that would be spectacular.
And that thing needs to be popular. Like,
basically, we need Jameis to start a live podcast right now in season.
Yes, in season, while being the backup for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that's
the bingo for me would be Jameis doing a podcast as a member of the Steelers, and the Steelers get put into like the Family Guy game next year, where there's a simulcast in the Family Guy universe. I'm like, all right, sure. Yeah.
And then somebody at ESPN makes a very questionable and fireable decision to make Jameis Winston Cleveland Brown. Like, and that's it for the cartoon games. Yeah. Like, we are playing a dangerous game here with these cartoon games. I hope we know, because we running out of race neutral cartoons.
I really like that.
They did Toy Story was the first year, and then this year was
What they gonna do next year? Monsters Inc.
That would be fun.
That's not a bad one. Yeah, that's not a bad one.
They gonna do Ratatouille.
Just start doing Pixar every year. I'm down for this.
He will give you all of them.
Yeah, that's 4 years. They try to do this for another 25. Sonny, the technology ain't even caught up to where they can put this shit on TV yet. That's where they gonna get in trouble. By the time they get on TV, what they gonna be putting out there? Angels in the outfield. Like,
that's a great movie. They talk about my boy Danny Glover.
Have they done SpongeBob yet, or no?
That's coming. But that's Paramount though. That's not Disney.
Yeah,
and they do that every year in the wild card game for the Nickelodeon simulcast.
Yeah. All the companies getting in on this. All 4 companies are getting in on this.
So we had another game in the AFC North. The AFC North showdown between Browns and Steelers. Actually, I thought the first half was really good, really entertaining. I don't know why anybody at this stage of his career will sign Tooney. Like
I need to talk about this, man. Okay, I at one point posted on Blue Sky, the Browns have Jameis Winston throwing passes and Kadarius Toney catching punts. You are playing the football equivalent of Russian roulette. And then I think Jameis threw an interception. So it was like, hey, man, foreshadowing. And then somebody else said, why did you put that negative energy out there? And I just wanted to ask a question, Jared. If somebody's playing Russian roulette and you point it out and then somebody gets shot, is it your fault?
No.
Or did you just point out that they are playing a very dangerous game? Right?
Yeah. Kadarius Toney had 2 snaps in this game, and they were both the punts. One he got a taunting penalty on, and the other one he fumbled, and then they immediately cut him. So that was
here's the Kadarius Toney arc. First, he gets a punt that he should have just let bounce.
Yeah,
he catches it on the floor. Now, I have been fighting this battle with Cleveland Browns fans for a long time, ever since we signed Kadarius Toney to the damn practice squad. And my whole argument was people think that he could return punts. Why? Because he had the one stupid punt return in the Super Bowl, but Andy Reid never let him return punts in the season. Why? Because Kadarius Toney is the most unreliable guy on anybody's football roster. And you know what job you don't give the unreliable dude? Punt returner. Yes. That's not an unreliable dude. You don't throw the unreliable wide receiver out there to return punts full time. You roll John Leonard out there, right? Remember him? The safety, they used to just possession punt returns.
The big white guy?
Yeah, safety. Number 30, right? He used to do that thing, right? That's what you do with the punt return. It's usually a practice squad guy who can't mess up. You give him 3 rules, you tell him what to do, reliable. No, we got Kadarius Toney out there return these punts. First punt, he catches for no reason. Okay, whatever. That's what you get for having Kadarius Toney out there. And honestly, it could be so much worse. Now, the next 2 punts, Jared, he gets some returns on those punts, right? He gets downfield a little bit. And now people are like, hey, Q, you want to say something about Kadarius Toney again? He's kind of cooking, right? I'm getting all those tweets. And then he gets the taunting penalty. Okay, well, if the worst we get from Kadarius Toney today is that he gets a taunting penalty and it's kind of stupid, and then he catches a punt at the 5. All right, I've seen him do stupider. Kadarius Toney waited until the Browns actually got some momentum to get back into this game and said, nah, we're not doing that, bro. We're not making this interesting at all. Just lets the punt slip through his body. He caught it. It just fell off of him. And again, I asked the question, whose idea was it to put the most unreliable person in the world, a man who couldn't be reliably onside, a man who has demonstrated multiple times with some of the best franchises that this sport has to offer that he don't give a damn? Whose idea was it to give that dude that job? Bubba Ventrone, you're fired. You are gone. This is ridiculous. How do you do that? How do you suggest? I know he pounded the table. Was like, no, we need to get Kadarius out there. We need to see what he can do. He has so much wiggle, and I need you fired. Okay? I need your voice off this team's leadership committee, because Kadarius Toney returning punts is the most dumb, smart thing ever, right? Like, you could fool yourself into thinking it's smart because, oh, look at the SMART score. Look at the Raz. And he's so athletic. He's the most agile. He's the quickest. You could fool yourself into it. But just watch the mother play football one time, and you're like, nah, he should never return punts. Ever. Everybody has made that decision. Everybody's fallen into that trap with Kadarius. Everybody's here. That's why Kadarius is here. Now let's bring this to Jameis Winston. If I hear one more person tell me if he cuts down them interceptions, he could be, I don't care.
Well, he got at this point.
The people who still talk about Jameis Winston like he's a second-year player are the most annoying human beings. This is year 10 of Jameis Winston. Let's stop acting like he's going to get better.
He's not going to cut down the interceptions. No. My man threw an interception to a defensive tackle on
Shout out Keanu Benton.
Yes. Oh, it was a great catch, Keanu.
Yeah.
But he threw a screen into triple coverage.
Yeah.
That is not a man who has a good trigger or when to operate the controls of when to hit green and when to not hit green, right? It just is what it is with him, right? He's an unserious man playing a very serious position, but fortunately for the Browns, these are unserious times. So for this next month, I don't give a fuck who playing quarterback. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, it don't matter. I'm not about to crash out because they put DTR. Who cares? There's 4 games left. I just want this month to end. Right? Like, that's it.
Why did they put DTR? They should put DTR and try him out.
Brother, if they don't run Nick Chubb again, I'm like, yeah, I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. Like, other things matter. This season is what it is. You don't got to tank. You can win a game here or two. I don't care. I'm not worried about draft position. Like, I'm just excited to watch football every week. So yeah, Jameis Winston. We need to stop acting like the interceptions going down is an option for him, right? Like, if you're going to talk about bringing back Jameis Winston, you got to talk about the interceptions. Like, we cannot ignore that this dude throws interceptions and capital I interceptions. like you know how crazy it is that Jameis Winston has thrown 9 interceptions and not one of them has been a tip ball. You know what that implies? Like, he's getting the ball to bounce his way and he's thrown 9 interceptions. Like, this is good luck, Jameis. Like, imagine once he starts getting the ball tipped at the line of scrimmage. Like, it is. I think some people need to look. I get it. He's not Deshaun, and he's better than Deshaun. There's a lot of better than Deshaun out there. Okay. Unfortunately, there's a lot of that. You don't got to lock yourself into the first guy who's better than Deshaun. So yeah, but yeah, this Browns-Steelers game, I don't know, Jared, went exactly how I thought it would go.
Yeah, I mean, for the Steelers, it started off really annoying because I thought we were going to get like another really just horrid play calling game from Arthur Smith, because Steelers get the ball and immediately it's 1st and 5 because they make Miles jump offside. So it's 1st and 5. And then they don't do anything with that. And then later on in the game, they get to 2nd and 1. They run a toss to Najee Harris, loses a yard. And then they throw a like fade to Scotty Miller on 3rd and 2. That was your plan from 2nd and 1. You can't pick that. Okay, here we go. So 4 out of their first 5 possessions were 3 and outs. And then once Keanu Benton got the interception, that kind of switched the momentum. Najee Harris scores a touchdown. They rattle off a bunch of points. But defensively, it was really annoying to start off the game too, because Cleveland converted, 3rd and 9, and James had a 35-yard touchdown pass to Jerry Jeudy on 3rd and 9. It's like, really? Like, we're going to see Jerry Jeudy just eat the secondary alive again? But they clamped down. They only had the Browns only went 2 of 13 on 3rd down for the game. They had a 4th down stop. Landon Roberts had really nice penetration. Landon Roberts had a great game. He put Ethan Pochich on his ass, who was pulling, I think it was in the first half at some point. Landon Roberts just ate him alive. So
ain't nobody acted like they was going to fight or nothing. I was like, boy, we need to reshape this offensive line. We don't got the physicality. And Landon Roberts just murdered one of your friends, and we not about to. I need a fake fight. Like, I need a fake fight.
You need somebody who's going to at least like stand up and.
I need somebody to yell, hell no. Like, no, that can't happen. Like,
somebody's got to be like the hockey goon in that situation. Just have a fight.
You got to push him to the ground just cause. Like, fuck the 15 yards. Like, he almost killed your homie. Like, exactly. That's nuts. I was like, this weekend has been like the weekend of like people getting destroyed, because like I have screamed at 2 hits this year, and they both happened the same weekend. Dude at Georgia getting smacked at the end of that championship game, and then Landon Roberts just straight up murdering Ethan Posick. And Ethan, nah, dog, you gotta take one from Myles Garrett. This is why Myles is a great player. Look, get the helmet. Like, get the helmet. Do something about this. Like, don't just let them beat you up. Like,
yeah, I think that like overall the Steelers somewhat set a tone early. Like, Watt had a nice tackle off the edge that on Chubb that was a loss, and that just kind of set the tone, I would say. Alex Highsmith had a really nice game in his first game back in a while because he was dealing with an injury. Yeah, like the Steelers offense, they didn't have George Pickens and they scored 27 points. Like, that gives me a lot to be like hopeful about. And like, you look at the dudes who were making plays, like Scotty Miller, who had 3 catches. Ben Skoranek made a nice play on special teams. #exciting whites. Mike Williams had a big catch down the sideline. Van Jefferson scored a touchdown. Pat Freiermuth had another big game. Jaylen Warren had 11 touches for 60-some yards. So, like, they were getting everybody involved. Offensive line-wise, they look really solid.
Can I ask this question?
Yeah, what's up?
Why don't y'all just run Jaylen Warren all the time?
Beats me. By the way, Arthur Smith also can't quit Cordero Patterson. He had four runs for three.
Dude, I was watching
yards.
that game. I'm like, I can't believe they ran Cordero Patterson because he fumbled in this game. Almost let the Browns back into it.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are they running Cordero? Like, Jaylen Warren was legitimately getting like 9 a carry.
Give those
touch.
4 carries that you gave Cordero Patterson and just give them to Jaylen Warren, and that would
every
be
time
totally
Najee
fine.
got out there, I was like, okay, it's gonna be 35, right? Like, it's gonna be tough and we can get off the field. Every time Jaylen got out there, it was fucking driving. I'm like, damn, bro, like we can't do nothing. We can't tackle this man. And y'all keep just like, all right, let's give him a blow. Put Cordero Robinson out there, Cordero Patterson out there. I'm like, all right, well, now we can get him behind the line of scrimmage. And every time Cordero got the ball, something bad happened.
And the thing too with the running back situation is like most Steelers fans are like, yeah, Najee's probably going to be gone after this year. Well, that's fine. You can give Jaylen Warren a nice little payday because he's going to be a restricted free agent. Like, just give him a little chunk of money, have him be the feature back. Shouldn't be that hard. He should have more carries to begin with. And we got to stop this Cordero Patterson touching the ball on offense thing because, yeah, that was abysmal. Just give those carries to Jaylen Warren and have like a 55-45 split backfield. If you really want Najee Harris to be the feature back, and fair enough, he's had a really solid year, but you got to give Jaylen Warren more touches, and he continues to show that every week. So happy the way that the skill guys are playing right now, especially Pat Freiermuth. He's 6th in the NFL in terms of tight ends receiving over the last month. So he's doing really well. They're getting him involved. He's scoring a lot. And they're finding ways to get the job done. Only thing that worries me going forward is that Pickens has a grade 2 hamstring strain, so it doesn't look like he's going to play against the Eagles. That's a problem. So gonna have to get more big Mike Williams plays. You're gonna have to get more from Pat Freiermuth. Like, everybody's gonna really have to put their hand in the pile and get some because not having 14 out there will really impact things. But 10-3.
They got Q and Coop out there. Yeah.
Hey, what is the nickname, Ace?
What? Who?
Of Coop.
Your boy Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
No, we cannot roll with this stuff.
Oh yeah. Man, Guantanamo Bay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Riley Moss and Cooper DeJean were in the same secondary? I know that the Eagles have Reed Blankenship too. Put all 3 of them
weren't
in
they
one.
both at Iowa together?
Oh, they would have been, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
What's
like,
up with
there's
Iowa?
only one place making these. Like, what do you like? Could you imagine? Of course, they had the same place.
No. Iowa's like the last Blockbuster video that's still selling VHSs.
They opened up a new Blockbuster. You heard Bill Belichick try to get out there at UNC. Iowa's like, dog, we better protect our wide receivers from the portal right now.
They're the last factory making white corners in America is at Iowa. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I didn't make that connection. That's great.
Look, yeah. Well, I was like, how could you think any other white corner came from anywhere?
Yeah,
even at Nebraska, they don't be doing that. Dog, I watch FCS football. I haven't seen a white corner, and I've watched North Dakota in South Dakota, all 4 of them schools out there play. Nah, only Iowa be out here doing that.
That's where most of America's whites are too. That's pretty.
Yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
Dude, you got to go out the state to get somebody in South Dakota. Like,
That's true.
How convincing does a recruiting pitch have to be, by the way, to get like a 3-star to go to South Dakota?
That man wants to win. Okay. Hey, look, he ain't gonna have to answer no questions about his love for the game or his will to win. You went to South Dakota State? Like,
A decent point.
you from Florida? Oh,
Florida.
I love it.
Mike Tomlin gonna draft every single one of them. Like,
he drafted Mason McCormick. He's a South Dakota State guy.
yeah.
I'll take all of
You
them.
don't stay out there if you got options unless you try to win, dog. And that's what they do out there in the Dakotas. They be fucking winning.
That's funny. I'll give my real quick defensive thoughts for the Steelers. Early on, passing game was bad. They cleaned it up pretty quickly. Benton played really great. Highsmith played great. It was nice to see James Pierre, of all people, get a pick after he dropped the fake punt a few weeks ago against Washington. So their role players really coming together. Having a complete collection of edge rushers too. Getting Highsmith back to go along with Watt Herbig and Preston Smith, finding a way to get different combinations of those guys on the field at the same time. Looking forward to seeing what the rest of the season brings. They got a tough stretch coming where they got to play Philadelphia, Kansas City, Baltimore, Cincinnati to finish the season. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward. If they can go 2-2 in this stretch, I will be ecstatic. Even if they go 1-3 and that one wins against Baltimore, they win the division. So I'm feeling great. I feel awesome. Yeah, this is the fact that they have a really good shot at winning the division, hosting a playoff game. I might go. Yeah. It's been a long time since the playoff game's been played in Pittsburgh. I'll find a way to get there.
You know what, Jared? I value our friendship, but if the Steelers lose that game on Wild Card Weekend, brother, just mute the first 30 minutes of the show.
Hey, I don't blame you. As you should, by the way. As you should. You got to do it.
Because, man.
I'll say this, though, too. Each team that is looking like a team that they could play in the wild card round, they have beaten this year. They've beaten Denver. They've beaten the Chargers. They beat the Ravens. So I'll feel confident going into that, whomever they play. There will be different.
Beat somebody twice.
That's fine. That's fine. That's okay.
Hey, look, I'm transparent about it. I will not be rooting for the Steelers in the first round.
Of course you won't. But if Bo Nix comes into Pittsburgh and beats the Steelers, fire
another Denver rookie?
Yeah.
Another Denver rookie.
No. I cannot.
By the way, if Bo Nix does that, I'm like, buying out on that second year. He's not going to be good. Because when both them quarterbacks that did it was not good for them after they did it, right? What Blake Bortles? Y'all remember that?
Tebow didn't come back, remember? Because they signed Peyton immediately.
Oh, that's right. He got shipped.
Look, then if Bo Nix leaves, or if Bo Nix beats Pittsburgh, and then suddenly Denver decides they're interested in Aaron Rodgers, hey, bro.
Ace, what do you thought of this game?
Yeah, man, this kind of went the way that I kind of expected it. Jameis Winston, Mr. 30 for 30 has returned, which is crazy. It's like that man really threw 30 interceptions.
Bro, you know what? Watching so I think somebody else said this, but watching Jameis Winston play football is like watching Uncut Gems.
Yeah, for sure.
He's top 10 in the league in interceptions right now. Jameis is.
Yeah, he's top 8.
I'm not surprised, bro. I mean, this one, he threw 2 interceptions, lost a fumble. Whenever you lose a turnover battle in games, you generally lose this one. I thought that the Browns made it interesting later on in the game. 2 for 13 on third down conversion is just not acceptable. I thought that their defense showed up early in the game. Obviously, the Steelers, with them not having George Pickens, I didn't expect them to score 27. So like Jared said, that's an impressive feat because I feel like their offense really is George Pickens. A little bit of
the running game.
Say that again.
A little bit of the running game with Najee and
I was gonna Jaylen Warren. Najee's a little but Jaylen Warren. Those are the 2 explosive guys. So for them to still put up 27 in the game with Russell Wilson only throwing for 150 yards. To see them still be able to get 27 in this game was pretty impressive.
And it's crazy too, because he went 15 of 26. So he's getting, 10 plus yards of completion. Like they were still playing Russ ball. It's just, they had to do it with other guys. Mike Williams had a catch earlier, but he had the most obvious and egregious offensive pass interference in the history of football. That brought it back right in front of the ref. I was like, all right, Mike, well, maybe don't do that next time. The second one he caught, though, was a nice little one-handed little spinning catch. So he's getting acquainted with the offense more. So it was nice to see. I forgot to also say Cam Hayward played really well, and he's probably going to get an All-Pro vote for me on the PFWA ballot because he's playing incredible.
Yeah, Cam Hayward had a good one, 2 sacks. Their defense showed up in this one. I mean, Deshaun Elliott, some of these guys, what they were able to do, they showed up in this one. We've been waiting to kind of see it, especially after they had the performance against the Bengals. This is getting back to what the Steelers are. So I think an impressive win for them at this point, just to do it on a bye week because, they got the Ravens on their heels. They needed to come out here, make sure that they secured a victory. So them having 10 wins, I didn't have that on my bingo card by this point. But they are looking like the team that could win the AFC North for sure. So Shout out to them.
Q, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, the one thing with the Steelers offense though is like they were aided by some of these turnovers Cleveland had. Like I think 17 of their points they got the ball in plus territory. I think one of those times wasn't even an interception. I think it was just
it was a punt.
shitty punt, right?
Yeah,
like,
because the Browns had the ball like they're 4. It was a quick 3 and out. They punt.
Yeah. I think James took like a couple bad sacks there.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Which also sometimes happens with him. But yeah, so I don't know how much to take away from like the Steelers offense in this one, but they played well enough. They won 10 games, so like they're not a complete shitty offense. But look, there were stretches in this game where I was like, "Ooh, man, without George Pickens, what the fuck are they gonna do?"
Yeah, like
especially if there's a team that can stop the run, right? Like that's the big thing. Like the Eagles are gonna be a big test without George Pickens. Like, hey, they can stop the run. George Pickens is going to be out there, and now you got Van Jefferson lining up against Quinyon Mitchell. It's not like I know we talked a lot about Coop, but like Quinyon out there playing much better, and nobody is saying anything about it. They're like, yeah, he's good, but have you seen Coop? Why?
I think they do that because watching what Cooper DeJean doing is like a Bigfoot sighting. It's like, oh my god, like it actually exists.
Look,
so
now
I
know.
Get it.
Now you know how every other kicker feels like when the black putter show up, right? Like when Pittsburgh got the black putter, it's like, oh yeah, like look at him go.
Corliss Waitman puts boots to asses every week, and it's a great thing to see.
Shout out to Mike Tomlin. He's going 2 in a row. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like every time I see one, I'm like, who is that? But yeah, I think that's really like the one thing with Pittsburgh is like, hey man, what does this offense look like? Like the Browns aren't a great run defense team. They're a bad team in general right now. And Pittsburgh was able to get points after like a while, like attrition kind of said it, right? Well, I think the Browns did something stupid. And then the Browns missed the field goals. That's what happened.
Yeah, they did do that.
Yeah. Sorry, missed that whole detail. Yeah, the Browns got a field goal attempt before halftime, and then they got a field goal attempt right out of. That would have tied the game, and then they didn't get that, and then that's when it started to go downhill for the Browns when it comes to defensive performance and all that, because I think they just gave up hope at that point. And yeah, and things started to open up for Pittsburgh. I'm interested to see what they look like without George Pickens against Philly, and if that feels a little bit more sobering for Pittsburgh than this week was, because I think there were some signs there. I'm like, hey, like you can't use Mike Williams like you use George. Like that's not going to yield the same results. And like Russ still wasn't trying to find the middle of the field with that much. Like he hit fire move a couple of times later in the game, but like when the game was going, he seemed to lock out of that for whatever reason. Like it seems like he needs to be up a couple scores to feel comfortable throwing over the middle of the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of the things to take away too is like, hey, what does Pittsburgh look like going forward without George Pickens? And even if he does come back with the hamstring injury, that shit lingers, right? So is he going to still be able to give you the performances that kind of justify how the Steelers want to throw the ball, especially with Russell Wilson out there?
Yeah, I'm wondering with Pickens, do they shut him down for almost a whole year for what is left? Because the Steelers basically have the playoffs secure and they need him for the playoffs. I don't know. What are you thinking, Jared? You think they're pushing him to play right away?
No, because you play the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bengals like to end the season.
But so the Steelers and the Ravens both have 3 games in 10 days, which is kind of crazy. Both teams are in the same boat, which I guess the third game will be better. But if you put him in that middle game, it's gonna be hard to from there go and use him, right? Like it's just a quick turnaround.
They'll play it by ear and they'll be somewhat cautious about it, but no, I don't think they're gonna entertain shutting him down just because he is what the offense gets driven through in the passing game. So I mean, as soon as he's good to go, they'll bring him back. But I mean, if they win this week, yeah, they'll probably be much more inclined to be like, all right, just work your way back in. Don't worry about it too much with the Chiefs and everything. But I do think that we'll see him before the end of the season for sure.
Okay, so Boldigar here with a $30 super chat. We appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. Sup, boys? Love the content as always. Question: if Pittsburgh loses to Philadelphia and us Baltimore then win, then we have tie records and both win out, the Ravens then get the division and the second seed because I genuinely don't believe the Bills will be in it. So if the Ravens win the next two and the Steelers lose the next two, which is a question, and then both teams win out, the Steelers still get it over Baltimore because currently the Steelers' conference record is.
But the division record is
Division
better.
record, no, division record will be tied because you guys have one loss, we have two losses, and his point is if you guys lose to us and then we both win out,
okay. I got
so
you.
it will be tied. It will be tied. But conference record, then the Steelers will be set whatever 3 losses, and the Ravens will have 4 losses in the conference record. So the Steelers will still have the tiebreaker on in that case.
I still think that whoever wins the North is going to get the 3rd seed because I do believe in Buffalo to.
Buffalo's about to lose another game with Detroit, right?
Certainly possible. They got a lot to clean up with their run defense right now.
Well, let me tell you what they not going to do after Detroit. They not about to lose. They play the Jets and the Patriots. Like,
yeah, they'll at absolute maximum, the Bills will have 4 losses. I think that the Steelers and Ravens will probably have at least 5.
Yeah. I agree. The question for me, there's a bigger question. There's a bigger question here. Does the Chiefs keep it up at 3 losses or less? Right. The Chiefs still has to play. I think the Chargers. Does the
Chargers? They got the Steelers. They got the Broncos at the end of the year. I don't know what the rest of their schedule looks
Texans
like.
and they got Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a possibility there. We'll see. Definitely. We appreciate you for that question. Good question too.
Kareem Hunt has 600 yards.
I mean, Pacheco was hurt for a lot of the year, and they had to bring him back.
Yeah.
Because
I had it in fantasy, and he was doing great.
They were trying the Carson Steele experiment, and that wasn't working. So they said, "All right, we'll bring back Kareem Hunt. Sure, why not?"
And he did good.
Everything about this year of football.
It's crazy in terms of what the Chiefs are doing. It's annoying. Like Steelers practice squad.
They win.
Matthew Wright, who was with the Steelers every preseason during OTAs and the preseason play and training camp. He was with the 49ers for a little bit earlier this year because their kicker, whose name is escaping me right now, got hurt. And so they had to bring him in, and then the Chiefs pegged him, and now he wins with a doinker. Like that's just their season encapsulated right there. They always find a way, and it's incredibly annoying.
So Voldegar says, so basically LOL, we might be hoping as a Ravens fan, the Bengals beat Pittsburgh to get the division. The best path for the Ravens to win the division, first of all, is win out, right? Second will be the Steelers will lose this game. Steelers will lose to Baltimore, obviously, because the Ravens are winning out. And then the Steelers will lose to Kansas City. If they lose all 3, then you're up by a game over the Steelers, right?
Yeah,
that is the best scenario for the Ravens to win the division.
The Steelers
are you really sweating like being the 5 seed? Because it's probably going to be Houston.
I think if they play Houston, they win that game. Yeah, I agree.
I have a sneaky suspicion that we are gonna either get the 3 or get the 6. And I think
just end up playing the division.
And I think the Steelers are gonna get either the 3 or the 6.
That's fine with me.
You think the Chargers are gonna leapfrog you guys potentially?
Because what I'm thinking is the Chargers are gonna finish at 5th. If we lose to the Steelers, we're gonna get that extra loss, so we're gonna go down or the Chargers, right? Yeah. And if we beat out the Steelers and the Steelers lose the next 3, as per the question, then the Steelers will go down and the Chargers will be 5th. That's what I'm thinking.
Sonny, if the Steelers host the Ravens and they beat them in the wild card round, I'll echo Quincy. I value our friendship. Mute me for the first 30 minutes of that podcast. Mute me on Twitter for the next year because I will be an insufferable prick about it for a while. That would be great. I don't know. I've never done heroin, but I assume that's what it would feel like. I assume that's how great it would feel.
Wow. We would like to make it clear here at AFC North Talk, we do not endorse heroin.
Don't do drugs.
We don't. This is what I'm thinking, Jerry. I think we're gonna meet in the wild card 3-6. I mean, if the Ravens are 5th against the Texans, we play the Texans too on Christmas Day.
That is their Christmas Day game. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we play the Texans in Houston. So it'll be a rematch if we were the 5th and they're the 4th.
Well, that 3 seed looks like a setup.
Yeah.
No matter who gets, but you gonna get the Chargers or the Ravens or the Steelers? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Looks good. Like what I would rather play the Denver Broncos if I felt like I were a serious team. Like
right now, Denver plays the Bills. Yeah. Denver and the Bills.
Hey, maybe Jameis actually proved something, which is if you just throw at that Denver defense, like shit's there.
I mean, the Ravens.
The Ravens proved that too. Hey, by the way, I called that booty beatdown from the Ravens, and would you look at that?
Yeah, man. Like I feel like we just letting hype do a lot of talk with that one. I'm like, hey, bro, Jameis had 500 against him. I understand he threw 2 picks, but 500 shit's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jameis threw 4 touchdowns and plus the 2 pick sixes, which led to the best quote ever.
Granted, they got number 39 out there. I don't know if that man's a regular starter. I have to imagine he is not, because I've never seen somebody just be like, "Yeah, man, you can have the inside."
Oh, that's Levi Wallace. No, he's certainly not a normal starter.
I'm like, where'd they get him from?
The Steelers. He was a Steeler last year.
Oh, did he always do that? Wait. He came from. So he's played man before,
bro. The Steelers cornerback starters at one point, like week 6 last year, were Patrick Peterson and Levi Wallace. Before they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna stop this whole Levi Wallace thing. We'll put Joey Porter as the normal starter.
It was one of them days where everybody was watching them pictures on the iPad, talking about, let me get a rep.
That's what it was. Really was. I don't know how he got another job. No disrespect to Levi Wallace, but I have no idea how he got another job.
Slight disrespect to Levi Wallace. This is definitely disrespect.
A pinch of disrespect to Levi Wallace, because that was abysmal.
I was like, good Lord, he can't be a regular player for that.
Yeah, that was bad. Jerry Jeudy just was kind of like rubbing his hands together like Mr. Smithers. And
it wasn't even Jerry Jeudy. It was Mike Woods who came straight off the practice squad, was just out here just cutting him up on the inside. I'm like, this is nuts, man. Like, Mike Woods not good.
Not good.
So we'll be back tomorrow. We have 4 games slated, although the division, other than the Steelers, are playing questionable opponents. Well, the Browns are playing the Chiefs. I guess who did the
Bengals play?
Titans.
Oh, all right.
And then the Ravens are playing the Vito and the Giants. So put respect to the Vito.
Another booty beatdown coming, by the way. They're 14.5-point favorites. I'm betting them minus 30. Like, they are going to beat the living piss out of the Giants.
Minus 30.
Hey, the Jaguars' schedule is hilarious. Like,
why? What's up with the Jaguars' schedule?
Well, when they beat the Titans 10-6.
Oh, they're good. They're playing Mac Jones. Trev is done.
Yeah, 3-10 right now. They play the Jets, the Raiders, the Titans, and the Colts. Which is to say, they might do all this and end up with like the 10th pick in the draft.
That's rough.
McCorkle wants to show up.
Yeah, because they're happy to play some of the worst teams in the NFL right now.
Bro, they are one bad tackle on Mac Jones away from starting Darby Allin at quarterback. Like that.
Hey,
that could be
you
fun.
know what? Look, JP, I hope this does not happen to you in your squad. But if they went out this month, you know what they're gonna start doing in Jacksonville? Hey man.
Hey, Mac ain't all that bad.
Should we sell high on Trevor? Mac was a first-round pick too.
Yeah.
There will be dumb people that say that. There's already dumb people saying that.
Yeah, I heard 7 games too. So like now you got the 14th pick in the draft because there's a million 3-win teams right now.
They're gonna end up taking like Mason Graham at number 9 or something like that, just because it'll be BPA at that point. Like,
no, it's not even gonna be Mason Graham, man. They're gonna have to take like Kelvin Banks, you know, like Cam Williams, super early, right? Like it's gonna be one of them moves where you're like, oh, they took who?
Just one of them unsexy ass picks at 11, where you're just like, oh wow, we really could have just. I could have got a
the second running back.
Oh God, yeah, that's not good.
Anyway, so we'll see y'all tomorrow. Take care, guys.